Hello everyone, I hope all of you are doing well, and let's start our next biography study. It is the biography of Chhatrapati Shivaji. Introduction. He who has a control of fort has control of the territory. Chhatrapati Shiva. Chhatrapati Shivaji was truly a man of forts. He was a braveheart warrior who ascended by his brave deeds, fights, and struggled against many enemies and defeated all of them to become the king of the Maratha kingdom. He founded the Hindu kingdom in the Deccan against all odds, fighting against the mighty Mughals. He inspired and united all the common man to fight against the tyranny of Mughal ruler Aurangzeb by inculcating a sense of pride and nationality in them. At the age of 16, he took a pledge to establish a sovereign Hindu state. His life appears like a fairy tale to children. He clearly, outstandingly outstanded all the rulers and generals of India by the exemplary life he lived, and is thus respected by the entire cross-section of Indians. He established a competent and a progressive civil rule with the help of a well-regulated and disciplined military and self-structured administrative organizations. The prevalent practices of treating women as spoils of war, destruction of religious monuments, slavery, and forceful religious conversions were firmly opposed under his administration. Shivaji was a religious Hindu. He also innovated rules of military engagement, pioneering the Shiva Sutra or Ganimi Kav guerrilla tactics, which leveraged strategic factors like geography, speed, surprise, and focused pinpoint attacks to defeat his larger and more powerful enemies, and built many sea forts. From a small contingent of 2,000 soldiers inherited from his father, he created a formidable force of 1 lakh soldiers who eventually defeated the mighty Mughal Empire. Shivaji was an able administrator who established a government that included modern concepts such as cabinet, Ashtapradhan Mandal, foreign affairs, Dabir, and internal intelligence. Shivaji established an effective civil and military administration. He also built a powerful navy. He undertook expeditions on the sea and established many forts. Shivaji was highly against people who were corrupt or who worked against their country. He hated those who betrayed the land. Shivaji was an embodiment of justice. He always encouraged those who were virtuous and meritorious. This enabled those who were virtuous to progress and occupy high places. There was no scope for selfish contrivers in his kingdom. In this manner, Shivaji revolutionized every department of life. Shivaji is well known for his benevolent attitude towards his subjects. He believed that there was a close bond between the state and the citizens. He encouraged all accomplished and competent individuals to participate in the ongoing political and military struggle. He is remembered as a just and welfare-minded king. He brought revolutionary changes in military organizations, fort architecture, society, and politics. Shivaji was a great and the first king of the medieval world to undertake the revolutionary idea of abolishing the feudal system 150 years before its worldwide recognition in the French Revolution. For a span of 50 years, there were no feudals in his kingdom. This is the thrilling tale of how Shivaji won Swaraj. Shivaji underwent all hardships for the sake of his country, for the sake of his dharma. He did not care for his own life and quite often entered the very jaws of death. Till his last breath, he lived for his country and for the Dharma of the Hindus. It is nearly 300 years since he died, but the memory of his great man lights up the torch of inspiration. Family history. There are many in the world who get name and fame on the basis of their families, but there are few others also who brighten the name of their families with their own deeds. Chhatrapati Shivaji was a person of the other type. He was a descendant of the Bhosle family. The Bhosle's clan descent from the Sisodia Ranas of Chittor and Udaipur. Possibly a branch of the family migrated south after Alauddin Khilji devastated Chittor. The three Maratha families associated with the rise of Shivaji are the Yadavas of Devgiri, Daulatabad, the Bhosles of Verul, and Nimbalkars of Falta. After being subjugated by Akbar, the Yadavas took service with the Nizam Shahs of Ahmednagar. Due to an able organizer, Malik Ambar, the Nizams stood up to the Mughal onslaught. In Malik's struggle, Shivaji's father Sahaji and grandfather Maloji were associated. 3 generations of Bhosle family fought against 3 Mughal emperors, that is, Jahangir, Shahjahan and Aurangzeb. In 1605, Shivaji's father Sahaji was married to Jijabai, daughter of the Yadavas. After crushing the Mughals in 1624, Sahaji lost out to Shahjahan in 1636. He was expelled from Maharashtra and had to take refuge in Bijapur. Education and childhood. Sahaji and Jijabai had 2 sons, Sambhaji and Shivaji. Sambhaji lived far away from Maharashtra with Sahaji. Shivaji was born in the hill fort of Shivneri on 19th February 1630, which towers over the city of Junnar in the extreme north of the Pune district. During much of the period from 1630 to 1636, Sahaji led a roving life. Subject to frequent contests with the diverse enemies and change of residence, he had left his wife and infant son for safety in stronghold like Shivneri. Later, he married Tukabai Mohite and had a son called Vyan Koji. Until March 1636, Sahaji's family was living at Fort Shivneri. Shivneri was one of the 7 forts ceded by Sahaji to Mughals in the terms of Treaty of October 1636. Sahaji immediately after his defeat went to Bijapur and entered the Adil Shahi service and was sent on campaign further south. He secured from the government a grant of the Pune district from Chakan to Indapur and Shirwal as his Jagir and appointed Dadaji Kondev to administer the land, telling him, "My wife Jijabai and my son Shivaji are living in fort of Shivneri. You take them to Pune and help them managing the Jagir." Thus, Shivaji stayed at Pune, probably at the end of 1637. Shivaji grew up in solitude. The isolation of their life drew mother and son very close together and intensified his love for her till it became almost an adoration for a deity. From a very early age, he was naturally thrown on his own resources and learned to carry out his own ideas unaided. and took the initiative without any sense of subordination or responsibility to some higher authority. Regarding Shivaji education, it is believed that Dadaji Kondev trained Shivaji. In a short time, Shivaji became skilled in wrestling, horse riding, and other accomplishments. He mastered the contents of the two great Hindu epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. The noble examples of doing and suffering, of action and sacrifice, of military skill and statecraft, which the stories of Ram and the Pandavas afford, the political lessons and the moral maxims with which these epics are filled, deeply impressed his young mind. During this period, he imbibed the spirit of Hindu independence. Proud of her Kshatriya tradition, with clear memories of the splendor of her ancestors and the year of suffering, Jijabai also developed in Shivaji a spirit of defiance and self assertion. Marriage. Mother Jijabai played a role of the father also in Shivaji's life. Sahaji was busy in conquering Karnataka for Bijapur from 1638 to 1640. Jijabai's elder son Sambhaji and Sahaji's second wife's son Vyankoji were with Sahaji. On the other hand, Shivaji was developing under the affection of Mother Jijabai and the custodianship of Dadaji Kondev. He arranged Shivaji's marriage with Saibai, a girl from the Nimbalkar family of Fultan, in 1640. Evidently, neither the father nor the brothers could attend his marriage. Shivaji's marriage took place when he was 12-13 years of age. The modern society will call it a child marriage, but it was a normal feature those days. Probably Jijabai's motherly affection was the reason behind it. Historical references are also available about other wives of Shivaji. Main among them was Soira by Shirke, the young administrator. In 1646, Shivaji turned 16. He completed his training in warfare as well as administrative matters. He started managing administrative matters of Jagir along with Dadaji Kondev from Pune. The Pune district was covered with hundreds of petty masters, each holding a certain village by right or infringement and then fighting his neighboring leaders or robbing the peasantry around. In that dissolution of civil administration and social order, which marked the twilight before the emergence of Shivaji as an independent king, no justice could be had and no legal right enforced by normal peaceful agency, because such agencies had perished. The strong alone could hold their own, but they did not stop with self defense and usually turned into ups, us, usurers of other people's right. On the scene, first Dadaji on a limited scale and then Shivaji in a steadily expanding degree appeared as the honest judge and a strong magistrate. These two alone could be counted upon to give impartial legal decisions, and after following the immemorial custom of consulting a fact finding jury of local villagers, when disputes about the partition of ancestral landed property or right to official fees as hereditary revenue, collecting agents or servants of the village community arose between one family and another or between brothers and cousins in the same family. Thus, Shivaji fulfilled countrywide social need, and his successful rise was due to the moral support which he gained from the public around him. As the fame of his justice, firmness, and stand for the weak spread around from village to village in Maharashtra, more and more people looked up to him as their protector and launched to come under his rule. His right of governing and controlling spread through the conquest of hearts, which the honest and the young administrator alone can achieve among the simple population. Shivaji succeeded because he was his people's king. Shivaji's administration in Pune opened many employment opportunities in the Jagir for Baghle landlords, and their sturdy tenantry helped Shivaji in his further conquests. In return, they were getting wealth, power, and honor far beyond what the plough could have yielded them at home. Malwais came to regard him almost as their little corporal, for whom they would do and dare to the point of death. The Mughal country was the cradle of Shivaji's power, and the Mughals formed the backbone of his army. The building of fortification. Shivaji was not born just to serve Adil Shahi like other Maratha equivalents then. He always thought of getting freedom from his land, for his land from all invaders. Shivaji had gathered many friends from his Jagir like Tanaji, Malusare, Suryaji, Yesaji Kank, Baji Padaskar, and many more. Also, now he had support of Deshmukhs of Mawar territory. He explained them the thought of Swarajya and all joined him in this mammoth task. One day, Shivaji and his friends went to Rosheshwar temple of Lord Shiva near Pune. He took oath of independence in this temple and decided till each of them are alive, they will stand by Shivaji and fight for the ultimate goal, that is independence. In Bijapur, Muhammad Adil Shah felt seriously ill in 1646. Though he survived for another 10 years, the control of Adil Shahi was with his wife Badi Begum during this period. This instability in Bijapur added to Shivaji's advantage. Shivaji always believed that he who has control of fort has control of territory. Hence he decided to capture Toran fort and include it into his kingdom. This huge hill fort is very close to Pune. The road to the fort goes from village called Velha. Shivaji and his friends planned and attacked Toran in the late night hours. Even before Adil Shahi forces on Toran could realize that the fort has been attacked, Shivaji had captured it. Shivaji garrisoned the fort and did some work in order to make it even stronger. Shivaji named it Prachandikar due to its huge size. Shivaji's men found huge buried treasure while working on Torna fort. After this success, Shivaji focused on another hill just 5 miles away from Torna in the same hill train. Adil Shahi had done some fortification on the hill, but it wasn't complete. Also, it wasn't garrisoned. Shivaji constructed a new fort here and named it Rajgarh. Shivaji used treasure found on Toran for this construction. This beautiful fort served as first capital of Maratha kingdom. It was naturally the aim of Shivaji to bring all parts of Sahaji's western Jagir under his own control, so as to form a compact state ruled by one authority. But this was effected gradually and took years to complete, as it was not possible for him then to employ force on all sides. The fort of Chakan, guarding the road to Pune from the north, had been entrusted by Dadaji Konde to Firangoji Narsada. When in 1648 Shivaji asked Firangoji to join him for the noble cause, Firangoji agreed and was confirmed in his post. The fort of Kondan, 11 miles southwest of Pune, was next secured by bribing its Adil Shahi governor. Chakan and Kundan are forts of great strategic importance. Chakan was the first ground fort captured by Shivaji. Toran and Rajgarh are hill forts. Along with fort, the most important thing Shivaji earned was support of loyal and experienced officer Pirangoji Narsar. Maharji, a Brahmin bearing the family title of Nilkant Rao, was the hereditary headman of the country around the fort of Purandar, 18 miles southeast by south of the Pune, under the Bijapuri government, and enjoyed some rent privileges there as his official remuneration. When he died, his eldest son, Niloji Nilkant Rao, began to administer the family estate. About June 1648, Shivaji, foreseeing the storm coming upon his own house from the Bijapur government, wrote to Niloji asking for an asylum for himself and his family during the monsoon season in the village under shelter of the fort. As Sahaji was an old friend of the family, the request was readily granted, and Shivaji cantoned for the rains in the village lying at the foot Purandar while his troops found quarters near about. Niloji delegated his youngest brother Shankarji to look after their honored guest. Niloji had denied his younger brothers Pilaji and Shankarji any share of his power or of the income of their paternal estate. They resented this exclusion from their birthright and appealed to Shivaji to arbitrate and right their wrongs. A friendship sprang up between Shivaji and Shankaraji from their close personal contact, and the latter opened his heart to Shivaji and begged for his help in ousting his eldest brother from the control of the fort, so that the other two brothers might enjoy their patrimony. Shivaji entered into the conspiracy through the treacherous contrivance of Shankaraji. He secured from Niloji an invitation to enter the fort with his family and escort and share in the Diwali festivities. But on the night of the 8th June 1648, Shivaji, guided by Shankaraji, surprised the sleeping Niloji in his bedchamber and threw him into chains. His own troops, took possession of the fort gates and turned out the ragged retainers of Niloji. The two disloyal brothers soon had their reward on refusing to give up Purandar to their ally. They too were imprisoned, but after a few days, all the three brothers accepted their fate and were set free. Shivaji's Malways garrisoned the fort for him, and he settled some families there to strengthen his hold. Purandar henceforth became the haven for the refuge of the masters of Pune whenever threatened with invasion. Jagi to Swarajya. Shivaji, under the guidance of Dadaji, converted his small Jagir into Swarajya, a well-knit unit where law and order prevailed, justice quickly rendered, and wealth secure. Sahaji, employed by Adil Shah of Bijapur, used to conquer erstwhile regions of Hindu Vijayanagar kingdom, poured the wealth from Hindu shrines into Muslim coffers. This upset Shivaji and Jijabai. Meanwhile, stories of Shivaji's activities reached Bijapur and upset Adil Shah. Summoned to Bijapur, Shivaji revealed uncompressing character who punished the wrongdoers irrespective of the consequences. On his return, Shivaji formed an independent state where Hindus would not be persecuted. While the father could not openly support his son, he helped him by deputing some key officials to Maharashtra. 7 years of efficient management of the Mughal Jagir began to bear fruit in the form of substantial income that Shivaji used to maintain an infantry, repair forts, and improve administration. With the help of an enthusiast Kanoji Jede, Shivaji acquired possession of the 12 marble forts west of Pune and started building a new fort, Rajgarh, that later became the principal seat of his government. Shivaji captured important forts around Pune. He had two objects now: to secure the welfare of his people and to have well guarded frontiers that he could hold. He proclaimed his independence by using official papers that ran, "This seal of Shiva, son of Shah, shines forth for the welfare of the people and is meant to command increasing respect from the universe like the first phase of the moon." This happened around 1648. Adil Shah, on learning the offending activities of Shivaji, formed the opinion that Shivaji's father Sahaji was doing some mischief to help Shivaji. He dramatically arrested Shahaji by taking Shahaji as prisoner. Adil Shah managed to wrest the Sinhala fort from Shivaji. The obedient son. After the arrest of father, Shivaji was in trouble, in a terrible dilemma. He could only opt for diplomacy to rescue his father, and there was only one power which could help him in that situation. The Mughal emperor was the hereditary enemy of Adil Shah, and every rebel against Bijapur was sure to gain the emperor's support if he could hold forth the chance of strengthening the imperial cause in the Deccan by the adhesion of his followers. The Mughal emperor alone was strong enough to crush entire Adil Shahi. Shivaji pledged his loyalty and support to the Mughals and sought their support in pressurizing Adil Shah to release his father. The captive Shahaji, on his arrival at Bijapur, was not cast into prison but handed over to the care of a brother noble of first eminence, Ahmad Khan, with instructions to conciliate him by every possible means. Terms were soon settled. Shahaji wrote to Shivaji to restore Bangalore along with Kadarpi, 40 miles east of Chittalurg, and Kondana to Bijapuri officers. He obeyed at once, and on 16th May 1649, Shahaji was called by Adil Shah to an audience, invested with a robe of honor, and set free with the restoration of all his estates and dignities. Declaration of Independence. In the beginning, Shivaji ruled over the Jagir as the representative of Shahaji. But after Shahaji was released from Bijapur, he found useless to do so. Hence, he declared his full independence in 1653 and started conquering neighboring Jagirs and forts to expand his estate. At the extreme northwestern corners of the Satara district lies the village of Jagudi. A Maratha family named Noor was ruling the state of Jagudi from the first Sultan of Bijapur. Early in 16th century, for 8 generations, they had conquered the petty leaders around and gathered vast treasure by raising forced contributions. They kept 12,000 infantry, mostly sturdy hillmen of the southern Malwas, and succeeded in getting possession of the entire district of Satara and parts of Konkan. The head of the family bore the hereditary title of Chandra Rao, conferred by Bijapur king in the recognition of the founder's personal strength and courage. The younger branches enjoy states scattered through the villages of the district. The state of Jaguli, by its position, barred the path of Shivaji expansion in the south and southwest. Chandra Rao tried to form in that locality an anti-Shivaji coalition in concert with the neighboring Adil Shahi governor. Because the progress of Shivaji in that region would have caused loss of the Moors' power and independence. Generations of enjoyment of wealth and authority had turned the last Chandra Rao into a proud, indolent drunkard whose affairs were left uncared for. Shivaji sent Raghunath Balalkode as his envoy to Chandra Rao to secretly plan and kill him. He went to Javali with a picked escort of 125 expert swordsmen on the pretext of carrying some important diplomatic proposals from Shivaji to Chandra Rao. On the first day of the envoy held the usual formal conversations. Finding out the ins and outs of the places and learning that Chandra Rao usually lived in a careless, unguarded manner, Raghunath formed his plan of action. The second interview with Chandra Rao was held in private chambers. In a cunning act, Raghunath stabbed Chandra Rao and his men took control of the fort. Shivaji had kept himself ready to follow up his agent's action. Immediately on hearing of the fall of More, he arrived and assaulted Jabali on 15th January 1656. The leaderless garrisons defended itself for 6 hours and then overcome. Chandra Rao's 2 sons and entire family fled. Shivaji, after doing arrangements of Jabali, marched to take Rairi, where the late Chandra Rao's more son Krishnaji and Baji and many women of the family had taken refuge. Rairi was then a very lofty and almost inaccessible plateau without the fortifications. The siege was a short one. Want of a leader and exhaustion of provisions forced the young Moors to agree to a surrender through the mediation of 2 of Shivaji Mable's followers, April 1656. Thus, Javali became part of Maratha kingdom and gates to Kolar and Kolhapur opened for Shivaji. Shivaji later constructed Raigad on Rairi, the second capital of Swarajya, which witnessed coronation of Shivaji. Hiroji Indolkar, the famous architect, built this fort. By defending an ally of the Shah, Moris of Javali in Mahabaleshwar range, Shivaji made all know the fate that awaited them if they dared to oppose him. A small, compact kingdom comprising of Pune and Satara came into shape. To protect the conquest of Javali, he erected a new fort of Pratapgarh near Mahabaleshwar. Pratapgarh is a result of great vision and stratagem of Shivaji. Later, Shivaji selected this fort for tackling barbaric Afzal Khan. Shivaji gave these 2 jewels to Javali and Javali gave him one called Muradji Baji Deshpande, who was serving More family. After fall of Javali, he joined Shivaji and served as Kiledar of Purandar. On 24th September of the same year, he acquired about 35 Supa about 35 miles southeast of Pune. Next, Shivaji captured Kalyan and Shah's treasure, moving from there to Bijapur. Having captured North Konkan, he turned south by constructing a series of naval forts at Swarnadurg, Vijayadurg, Sindhudurg and Kolaba, and created a powerful navy with shipbuilding yards and arsenals for trade and defense. Clash with the Mughals. Till 1657, Shivaji was fighting with the neighborhood Jagis, conquering forts and maintained peaceful relations with the Mughals. Shivaji offered his assistance to Aurangzeb in conquering Bijapur, and in return he was assured of the formal recognition of his right to Bijapur forts and villages under his possession. Shivaji's confrontation with the Mughals began in March 1657 when two officers of Shivaji raided the Mughal territory near Ahmednagar. This was followed by raids in Junar, with Shivaji carrying off 3 lakh Huns in cash and 200 horses. Aurangzeb responded to the raid by sending Nasir Khan, who defeated the forces of Shivaji at Ahmednagar. However, the countermeasures were interrupted by the rainy season and the battle of succession for Mughal throne following the illness of Shah Jahan. In 1659, an important administrative change happened in the Deccan. Sultanism was moved from Aurangabad and Shaista Khan was sent to Deccan as Subedar of Deccan. The main task given to him was to control Shivaji's rebel activities. Crushing Afzal Khan. Shivaji now had two arch enemies, Sultanate of Bijapur and the mighty Mughal Aurangzeb. In 1659, Sultanate of Bijapur sent Afzal Khan, a barbaric and veteran general, to destroy Shivaji in an effort to put down what he saw as a regional revolt. Afzal Khan desecrated Hindu temples at Tuljapur and Pandharpur, hoping to draw Shivaji to the plains to retaliate with his limited military resources and thus lead him and his budding military power to easy destruction by the numerically bigger, better armed and more professional Bijapur army. Afzal Khan may have expected Shivaji to meet his army in the plains. However, Shivaji, upon carefully weighing his options, agreed to meet Afzal Khan on his home turf on the pretext of diplomatic negotiations. Shivaji sent a letter to Afzal Khan stating that he was eager for a meeting. The meeting was arranged between Afzal Khan and Shivaji at the foothills of Pratapgarh Fort on 10th November 1659. This event is one of the most important in Shivaji's life. Shivaji got a pledge from the ministers to never submit in case he fell. Afzal Khan was invited at the base of Pratapgarh under the conditions that both men would be armed only with sword and attended by a follower. However, Shivaji is said to have learned that Afzal Khan was planning an attack on him. Shivaji therefore wore a steel cap under his turban and armor under his clothes, concealed a steel claw and a small dagger, bichwa, in his left arm, in addition to a visible dagger on his right hand. Shivaji mounted the raised platform and bowed to Afzal Khan. The Khan rose from his seat, advanced a few steps, and opened his arm to receive Shivaji in his embrace. Shivaji came up to the shoulders of his opponent. Suddenly, Afzal tightened the grip and held Shivaji's neck fast in his left arm. With his right hand, he drew his long, straight-bladed dagger and struck at the side of Shivaji. The Brazilian armor saved Shivaji. Shivaji then passed his left arm around the Khan's waist and tore his bowels open with the blow of a steel claw. Then, with the right hand, he drove the small dagger into Afzal's side. The wounded Khan relaxed his hold and Shivaji rested himself straight, jumped down from the platform and ran towards his own men outside. The Khan cried out, "Treachery! Murder! Help! Help!" The attendants ran up from both sides. Sayyid Banda faced Shivaji with his long straight sword and cut his sternum, making a deep dent in the steel trap. Shivaji quickly took a rapier from Jiva Mahal and began to carry, and Jiva Mahal came around with his other sword, cut off right arm of the soldier and then killed him. Meanwhile, the palki bearers had placed the wounded Khan in palki and started for his camp. But Sambhuji, Kauji, slashed their legs, made them drop the palki and then cut off Afzal's head, which he carried to Shivaji. In the ensuing Battle of Pratapgarh, fought on 10th November 1959, Shivaji's forces decisively defeated the Bijapur Sultanate's forces. It was their first significant military victory against a major regional power and led to the eventual establishment of Maratha Empire. The retreating forces of Afzal Khan were engaged in battle and were routed. More than 3,000 soldiers of the Bijapur army were killed and 2 sons of Afzal Khan were taken as prisoners. This unexpected and unlikely victory made Shivaji a hero of Maratha folklore and a legendary figure among his people. The large quantities of captured weapons, horses, armor, and other materials helped to strengthen the nascent and emerging Maratha army. The Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb now identified Shivaji as a major threat to the mighty Mughal Empire. Soon thereafter, Shivaji, Shahaji, and Netaji Palkar, the chief of Maratha cavalry, decided to attack and defeat the Adil Shahi kingdom at Bijapur. But things did not go as planned as Shahaji's health deteriorated and they were forced to postpone the planned attack. However, Netaji Palkar undertook this mission, mounting smaller scale attacks and military harassment of Adil Shahi kingdom. Subsequently, the Sultanate of Bijapur sent an army composed mainly of Afghan mercenaries to subdue and defeat Shivaji before he could substantially expand his army. In the ensuing battle, Bijapur's army was defeated by the Maratha troops. This intense and bloody battle ended in the unconventional surrender of Bijapur forces to Shivaji. The narrow escape. Shivaji followed his victory over Afzal Khan and his leaderless army by defeating Fazal Khan and Rustam-e-Zaman and invading Ratnagiri and Kolhapur. Shivaji took Fort Panhal near Kolhapur. Adil Shah decided to go personally against Shivaji in the new mission, but by this time, C.D. Johar, who had occupied Kurnool, offered Adil Shah to join his services if he was given colonel's authority and recognized post. Adil Shah agreed to this and sent him against Shivaji with 15,000 men. C.D. forced Shivaji to take shelter at Panhal and besieged the fort. The siege dragged on for nearly 5 months. All the paths were closed. Shivaji found himself in a fatal trap. So he wrote a secret letter to Johar, deceitfully begging his protection and offering to make an alliance with him. In order to negotiate for the terms, he asked for a safe passage. Johar swallowed the bait. He assured Shivaji of his protection, gave him a safe conduct, and flattered himself that with Shivaji as an ally, he would be able to create a kingdom of his own in independence of Adil Shah. But there was one relentless enemy of Shivaji in the Bijapur army. Fazal Khan, the son of Afzal Khan, and his chief retainer Siddhi Masood pressed the siege in the earnest. A huge fort like Panhal could not, however, be taken by 15,000 men, even if all of them put their hearts into one. Shivaji had made some sorties and broken up the siege trenches with heavy slaughter and forcing the Bijapuris to remove their camp to a safe distance from the fort. But these night attacks were not decisive. The siege was merely turned into a blockade in consequence of them. The Bijapuri army was terrified, and Fazl Khan henceforth avoided confronting Shivaji himself and directed his operations against the neighboring fort of Pavangarh. Seizing a hillock near it, he mounted guns and with some Englishmen's help began to throw shells into the fort. The Maratha commandant of Pavangarh found his position untenable and pressed Shivaji for relief. Shivaji found that further delay would ruin him by making his escape from the fatal trap impossible. With Pavangarh lost, Panhal could be easily starved into surrender. The rainy season had started and Shivaji decided to leave the fort in a rainy night on 13th July. The plan was devised. He took 600 brave men with him. The group was led by Baji Prabhu Deshpande of Hirdas Mawal. Two palkis were arranged, one for Shivaji and other for Shiv Nahvi, the barber who was look-alike of Shivaji. The palki taking Shivaji Nahvi left the fort and distracted the enemy. Fazl started chasing the palki and after some distance the palki was caught. During this period, Shivaji and his 600 men escaped from the siege. Everybody was happy till they realized the man they caught was not Shivaji. A new chase started. Siddhi, Masood and Fazl Khan with 500 set out in pursuit. Shivaji's men crossed around 20 miles in the night, but when they reached Gajapur, they realized that Masood has catched up with them and his cavalry was not far from Gajapur Pass. Vishalgarh was still 8 miles away and another Adil Shahi Sardar Sarv had besieged the fort. In this tough time, Baji Prabhu asked Shivaji to march forward with 300 men and reach Vishalgarh. Till he reaches on top, Baji will hold the narrow pass with remaining 300 men and Shivaji should make a gunshot indicating he has reached safely. Baji stood at the mouth of the pass and Bijapuris delivered 3 bloody assaults on the heroic rear guard, all of which were beaten off. For 5 hours, the obstinate struggle was maintained with the loss of 700 men to the defenders. Siddhi's gunmen fired a shot at Baji's, leaving serious injuries, but Maratha warrior did not break down and continued encouraging his troops. Malves, who had worked entire night, kept fighting. Then the signal gun was heard announcing Shivaji's safe arrival in his asylum. But Baji Prabhu was lying down mortally wounded. The faithful servant had carried out his task at the cost of his life, but the news of Shivaji's safety cheered his last moments. Attack on Shaista Khan. Upon the request of Badi Begum of Bijapur, Aurangzeb sent his maternal uncle Shaista Khan with an army numbering 1 lakh along with a powerful artillery division in January 1660 to defeat Shivaji. Khan was accompanied by eminent commanders like Tarktaj Hussain, Haider, Namdar Khan, Kartalab Khan, Uzbek Khan, Fateh Jung and Rajputs namely Bhau Singh, Shyam Singh, Rai Singh Sisodia, Pradyuman, and many more. Khan was an experienced commander who had defeated Shahji in the same region in 1636. He was ordered to attack the Maratha kingdom in conjunction with Bijapur's army led by Siddhi Johar. Aurangzeb ordered Shaista Khan to capture the Maratha kingdom to add to the empire. He intended to deceive Arisa. After Shivaji's expected defeat by Johar in Panhal fort, Shivaji now prepared to face a combined attack of Mughals and Adil Shahi forces. Shaista Khan was ordered by Aurangzeb to attack Shivaji as per Mughal Adil Shahi accord. Shaista Khan, with his better equipped and provisioned army of 3 lakh, that was many times the size of Maratha forces, seized Pune and the nearby fort of Chakan. At the time, Firangoji Narsal was the Kiledar, commander of the fort Chakan, which was defended by 350 Maratha soldiers. They were able to withstand the Mughal attack on the fort for 1.5 months. Then a Burj outer wall was blown up with explosives. This created an opening to the fort, allowing hordes of Mughals to breach the exterior portion of the fort. Firangoji himself led the Maratha counter-attack against a larger Mughal army. Eventually, the fort was lost with the capture of Firangoji, who then was brought before Shaista Khan, who, appreciating his bravery, offered him Jahangir military commission on the condition that he join the Mughal forces, which Firangoji declined. Admiring his loyalty, Shaista Khan pardoned Firangoji and set him free. Firangoji returned home and Shivaji awarded him a fort named Gopalgarh. Shaista Khan pressed his advantage of larger, better provision and heavily armed Mughal army and made inroads into some of Maratha territory. Although he held Pune for almost a year, he had little further success. He had set up his residence at Lal Mahal, Shivaji's palace in the city of Pune. Shaista Khan kept a tight security in Pune. However, Shivaji planned an attack on Shaista Khan amidst tight security. In April 1663, a wedding party had attained special permission for a procession. Shivaji planned an attack using the wedding party as cover. The Marathas disguised themselves as the bridegroom's procession and entered Pune. Shivaji, having spent much of his youth in Pune, knew his way around the city and his own palace of Lal Mahal. Chimanji Deshpande, one of the childhood friends of Shivaji, aided in this attack, offering his services as a personal bodyguard. Since Mughal army also consisted of Maratha soldiers, it was difficult for someone to distinguish between Shivaji Maratha soldiers and Maratha soldiers of the Mughal army. Thus, taking advantage of the situation, Shivaji, along with a few of his trusted men, infiltrated the Mughal camp. After overpowering and slaying of the palace guards, the Marathas broke into a mansion by breaching an outer wall. Chimanji and Netaji Palkar entered first along with Babaji Deshpande, another of Shivaji's long-time loyal associates. They approached Shaista Khan's quarter. Shivaji then personally confronted Shaista Khan in a face-to-face attack. Meanwhile, perceiving danger, one of Shaista's wives turned off the lights. Shivaji pursued Shaista Khan and severed 3 of his fingers with his sword in the darkness as he fled through an open window. Shaista Khan narrowly escaped death and lost his son and many of his guards and soldiers in the raid. Within 24 hours of this attack, Shaista Khan left Pune and headed north towards Agra. An angered Aurangzeb transferred him to distant Bengal as a punishment for bringing embarrassment to the Mughals with his ignoble defeat in Pune. Ransacking of Surat. While the change of governors was going on, Shivaji performed a feat of even greater audacity than he had ever displayed before. From 6 to 10 January 1664, he looted the city of Surat, the richest port of the west coast. The fort of Surat stood on the south bank of the Tapi, 12 miles from the sea. It was impregnable to anybody of light raiders like Shivaji's troopers, but the city close to the fort offered a rich and defenseless prize. It had at that time no wall to protect it. Its wealth was boundless. The imperial customs alone yielded revenue of 12 lakhs rupees a year. The plunder of Surat yielded to Shivaji a crore of rupees. The looting was unresisted and extended over fully 4 days and nights, and Shivaji carried away loads of gold and silver, pearls, diamonds, and such precious ware. Use of intelligence network, supreme planning, finesse in execution, and coordination among Maratha forces were all at their best in this attack. Most noteworthy thing was, even in such a rapid plunder, no Maratha troops attacked any women, kids, poor people. They fought for the only purpose, striking their enemies, the Mughals. The Purandar Treaty. Aurangzeb was enraged. He sent Mirza Raja Jai Singh in March 1665 with an army numbering around 15,000 to defeat Shivaji. Mirza Jai Singh was a perfect blend of politician and warfare expert. He succeeded the throne of Amber, Rajasthan in 1622 when he was just 16 years old. He had served Mughals since the age of 8 years and had fought for them in all parts of the country and even outside Indian territory, wherever there was a difficult or delicate work to be done. Shah Jahan had only to turn to Jai Singh. Now this veteran of 100 fights donned his armor at the age of 56 to crush a petty leader, Shivaji, who in less than 10 years had grown great enough to baffle all the resources of Bijapur and to challenge the prestige of the Empire of Delhi. In a view of his two enemies, Marathas and Bijapur, Jai Singh took position between both, that is, the eastern part of Shivaji's dominion. Hence, he could also easily threaten Bijapur instead of pushing the war into the Western Ghats or the Konkan plains further west. He knew that if he could hit hard at the heart of the Maratha kingdom, its distant limbs would drop down off them. Secondly, he arranged to combine against Shivaji all his enemies and distract his attention by attacks from all the possible quarters. Money and promises of high rank in the Mughal service were lavishly employed on Shivaji's officers to corrupt their loyalty, and with very little success, Atmaji and Kahar Koli and two other brothers of the former who by Shivaji at the foot of Purandar in charge of his artillery, sent their agent to Jai Singh agreeing to join him. Meanwhile, at the same time, the Maratha captains in other parts had not been idle but tried hard to harass the Mughals and raise the siege. Early in April, Netaji Palkar, Shivaji's kinsman and cavalry leader, made a dash on Parinda, but a Mughal detachment from Supa attacked him and the Maratha host had to retreat. During these 3 months, many villages were devastated, houses burnt, women were harassed, people killed by Mughals, and devastation even at the base villages of the forts had negative impact on common man. The war of Purandar was not easy for Mughals, and Kiledar Murarbaji was making it even more difficult. He was well aware that he was surrounded by Mughals. Vajragarh had felt and Purandar had come well within range of Mughal guns mounted on Vajragarh. But this bravado kept fighting for his king and people. Purandar now seemed doomed, and as if to complete its destruction, the emperor had, at Jai Singh's request, dispatched very heavy artillery, which was now on the way to the fort. The garrison had suffered heavy casualties during 2 months of incessant fighting, but till their king's order they kept fighting leaderless, without any hope of reinforcement. History has not recorded names of any of them, but after Murarji Bai's fall, every person on the Purandar became Murarji Baji, and fought against the invaders. Shivaji made able use of spies to overcome his enemies. When pushed into a corner, he was practical enough to sue for peace and leave to fight for another day. It also indicates the absence of an overriding ego in Shivaji. In the ensuing Treaty of Purandar, signed between Shivaji and Mirza Raja Jai Singh on 11 June 1665, Shivaji agreed to give up 23 of his forts and pay compensation of 4 lakh rupees to the Mughals. He also agreed to let his son Sambhaji become a Mughal Sardar, serve the Mughal court of Aurangzeb, and fight with Mughals against Bijapur. Sambhaji actually fought alongside Raja Jai Singh's Mughals forces against Bijapur forces for a few months. Shivaji's commander Netaji Palkar joined Mughals, was rewarded very well for his bravery, converted to Islam, changed his name to Quli Muhammad Khan in 1666, and was sent to the Afghan frontier to fight the restive tribes. He returned to Shivaji's service after 10 years in 1676 and was accepted back as a Hindu on Shivaji's advice. The Agra episode. Mirza Raja Jai Singh advised Shivaji to visit Agra and convince Aurangzeb on the futility of fighting Shivaji and suggested that he be made an ally. Undecided to go or not to go, Shivaji thought that a visit would enable him to obtain a first-hand impression about the inherent strength of the empire and make it feasible for him to carry out his dream of a Hindu sultan. Shivaji left for Agra on 5 March 1666 with his son Sambhaji. After having reached Agra, Shivaji made his way to Darbar. After paying his respects to Aurangzeb, Shivaji was asked to stand in the third row of nobles. Upset, Shivaji complained of a breach of the terms of the agreement upon. Shivaji left his place and moved to a corner, vehemently protesting, and created a scene unprecedented in the court. Aurangzeb then asked the Darbar to be closed and asked Shivaji to be taken away, after which a strict guard was kept on Shivaji. It was decided to shift Shivaji to a new place. For nearly 3 months he remained captive. On 19 August 1666, he and his son squeezed themselves in 2 separate baskets of sweetmeats and escaped. He surfaced on 12 September 1666 at Raigad. It was the most thrilling exploit of all the wonderful deeds which added a halo to his personality, made him an all-India figure. Making peace with the Mughals. When Shivaji returned to Deccan in September 1666, the situation was entirely changed. Mirza Raja Jai Singh was in no position to repeat his success against Marathas. His attempt of invading Bijapur failed. Mirza Raja was visibly hastening to his grave. In May 1667, Prince Muazzam came to Deccan as new chief. Jai Singh, on his journey back, died on the way at Burhanpur on 28 August 1667. Some think due to a great disappointment and lost honor, while others feels he was poisoned. The return of the weak and indolent Prince Muazzam and friendly Raja Jaswant Singh to power in the Deccan, May 1667, relieved Shivaji of all fear from the Mughal side. Shivaji too avoided war with Mughals. For 3 years after his return from Agra, he lived very quietly. He wanted peace for a time to organize his government, make a revenue settlement of his land, repair and provision his forts, and consolidate and extend his power on the western coast. As early as April 1667, he had sent a letter to the emperor prophesying terror of the imperial army, which was reported to have been dispatched against him, and offering to make his submission again and send a contingent of 400 men with his son to fight under the Mughal banners. Aurangzeb had taken no notice of this letter, but Shivaji made another attempt. He entered Jaswant Singh to be his intermediary in making peace with the empire. He wrote to Aurangzeb, "I intended to have helped the task of recovering Kandahar with my unaided sources. I fled from Agra in fear of my life. Mirza Raza, my patron, is dead. If through your intercession I am pardoned, I shall send my son Sambhaji to wait on the prince and serve as a mansabdar at the head of my followers wherever ordered." Raja Jaswant Singh and Prince Muazzam jumped at the offer and recommended it to the emperor, who also accepted the proposal and recognized Shivaji's title of Raja, but did not restore to him any of his forts. Thus a peace was made which lasted nearly 2 years. During 1667, 1668 and 1669, Shivaji lived at peace with the Mughal government. Shivaji kept still at Rajgarh, and though as yet there was no peace made between Adil Shah and him, yet both refrained from committing any acts of hostility against one another. In fact, during these 3 years, he was busy framing a set of very wise regulations which laid the foundations of his government, broad and deep, and have remained an object of admiration after ages. But the peace was essentially a hollow truce on both sides. Shivaji's sole aim in making it was to save himself from the possibility of a combined attack by 3 great powers and to recover his strength during this respite from war. Aurangzeb, ever suspicious of his own sons, looked upon Prince Muazzam's friendship with Shivaji as possible menace to his throne, and he secretly planned to entrap Shivaji a second time, or at least to seize his son as general as hostages. In April 1669, Aurangzeb issued orders to destroy the sacred temples of Mathura and Kashi and construct mosques in their place. All Hindu ceremonies and fairs were banned. Upset with Aurangzeb's action, Shivaji took revenge by plundering a number of towns under Mughal control. He plundered Surat for 3 days in 1670. Tit for tat at Surat. Whenever Mughal troops entered Deccan, they vandalized villages, killed people, and burned houses and crops, and caused huge damage. That was the reason Shivaji had looted Surat for the first time after Shaista Khan's attack to recover losses caused to his land and people. Yet again, after Jai Singh's attack, the people in Shivaji's kingdoms were suffering from same situation. Now it was Shivaji's duty to help them recover from these losses and to teach lesson once again to Mughals who were mercilessly destroying normal people. The breach with the Mughals occurred early in January 1670 or a fortnight earlier. On 11 December 1669, the emperor received a dispatch from the Deccan reporting the desertion of four Maratha captains of Shivaji's clan from the imperial service. Aurangzeb soon set to strengthening his forces in Deccan. On 26 January 1670, an order was sent to Diler Khan to leave Deogarh in the Gond country and hasten to Aurangabad. Daud Khan was ordered to arrange for the defense of his province of the Khandesh and then go to Prince Muazzam's assistance. Many other officers were transferred from North India to the Deccan. Shivaji opened his offensive with great vigor and immediate success. His roving troops looted Mughal territory and he attacked several of the forts which he had ceded to Aurangzeb by the Treaty of Purandar. Every day the emperor got news of such loss of forts. Shivaji's most conspicuous success was the capture of Kondana fort from Udaybhan. Its Rajput Kiledar on 4th February 1670. In 1670, throughout September, Shivaji was building large body of cavalry at Kalyan, evidently to invade Gujarat. The matter was so serious that on 12 September, the English factors took all necessary actions and moved all important things to Swali in the beginning of October 1670. The Mughal governor was so negligent that he kept only 300 men for the defense of the city. On 2nd October came successive reports of Shivaji's arrival with 15,000 horse and foot within 20 miles of Surat. All the Indian merchants of the city and even the officers of the government fled away in the course of that day and night. On the 3rd, Shivaji attacked the city which had recently been walled round by order of Aurangzeb. After a slight resistance, the defenders fled to the fort and Marathas possessed themselves of the whole town. In Indian history, most of Indian kings fought only to protect their kingdom. Shivaji was the first to teach us how attack can be the best defense. By attacking Surat twice, he sent a strong message to Aurangzeb: if you vandalize my land, I can return the favor more effectively. That's where the greatness of Shivaji is noteworthy. The only intention of his deeds being safeguarding his complete nation from invaders. The Battle of Dindori. Prince Muazzam had just returned to Aurangabad after chasing Diler Khan to the bank of river Tapi when he heard of the plunder of Surat. He immediately ordered Daud Khan from Burhanpur to attack the Maratha contingent carrying the loot. Meanwhile, Shivaji had left Surat, entered Baghlana and plundered the villages at the foot of the fort of Mulhe. Daud Khan marched in western direction with light kit to Chandor, which is a small town at which the road from Nasik to Baghlana crosses the hill range. Spies informed him that Shivaji had started from Mulher and intended to cross the Chandor range by the pass of Kanchan Manchan forts, 10 miles west of Chandor. Daud Khan reached Chandor at 9 p.m. and waited to verify the news of enemy's movement. But Shivaji had already went ahead of the pass and was moving to Nasik with the half of his forces and kept other half of his men holding the pass to pick up stragglers. Daud Khan resumed his march, but the moon set about 3 o'clock in the morning, and in the darkness the Mughal soldiers were somewhat scattered. At that time, Dor Khan had less than 2,000 men with him, while the Marathas were 10,000. In the evening, they charged him again but were driven back, evidently by the artillery. At night, the Mughals rested under the autumn sky. Their camp was fixed and they engaged in burying the dead and tending the wounded. The Marathas retreated to Konkan without further opposition. This battle, fought near Dindori on 17 October 1670, about a week later, Marathas captured the fort of Trimpak, Nasik district. This was perhaps the first open ground battle fought by Maratha army, but they showed same expertise which they had shown in guerrilla wars. The war strategy decided by Marathas should be appreciated. As a result of the Battle of Dindori, the Mughal power was neutralized for more than a month afterwards. The day after the fight, Dor Khan marched with the broken remnant of his army to Nasik and halted there for 1 month, evidently to recoup his strength and also to watch the route from Konkan. The wounded were sent to Aurangabad late in November 1670. He moved to Ahmednagar, but at the end of December he was recalled to the scene of his last battle by the revival of Maratha activity in the Chandor range. Raid on Berar and Baghlana. Early in December 1670, a Maratha force led by Shivaji himself made a raid into Khandesh. After capturing the forts of Ahimant, Markinda, Ramlaya and Jamlaya in Baghlana, advancing by rapidly, he looted Bahadurpur, a village 2 miles from Burhanpur, the capital of Khandesh. Passing into Berar, he fell when least expected upon the rich and flourishing city of Karanj and looted it completely. Thousands of oxen and donkeys were loaded with the booty, consisting of fine cloth, silver and gold, to the value of ₹1 crore captured here. All the rich men of the place were carried off for ransom. Only the most eminent one among them escaped in the disguise of a woman. The other towns also yielded vast sum of money. That rich province, with its accumulated wealth of more than half a century of peace and prosperity, afforded a virgin soil to the plunderers in their first raid. A force reported to be 20,000 strong began to move the country around Osa and collected the revenue, but they rode away without attacking the fort. In the neighborhood of Karanj and Nandarbar, the Marathas took from the frightened people written promises to pay them 1/4 of the revenue chauth in future. No resistance was made by the Mughals. Khan-e-Zaman, the governor of Berar, moved too slowly to intercept the raiders, and he stopped on reaching Deogarh. Dor Khan, the governor of Khandesh, was absent campaigning near Ahmednagar, while his son Ahmad Khan, who officiated as his deputy at Burhanpur, was at open war with Raja Jaswant Singh. Shivaji was invested Salhar with a force of 20,000 horse and foot, and one day, finding the garrison of their guard, he had scaled the wall by means of rope ladders. The Kiledar Fatahullah Khan fell fighting, and his wife's brother then gave up the fort to Shivaji. This happened about 5 January 1671. The success of Marathas continued. They threatened other forts in the province such as Mulher, Chauragarh and Hulgarh. Their roving bands cut off the grain supply of Nik Nam Khan, the Faujdar of Baghlana. They also laid siege to Dhodap, the loftiest hill fort in the Chandor range. The Deccan Campaign. The second sack of Surat and devastations in Balglana showed ground reality of the Deccan to Aurangzeb. Immediately after this realization, he sent Mahabad Khan to spearhead expedition in Deccan in November 1670. Maratha troops continued their strikes in December. As a result, Bahadur Khan was asked to leave his position in Gujarat and head to Deccan. Diler Khan was directed to accompany Bahadur Khan. Even the Aurangzeb was now thinking of coming to Deccan in person to lead the campaign, but it couldn't realize. Daud Khan was instructed to attack Shivaji wherever he was reported to be. Amar Khan, Chandawat and many other Rajput officers with their clansmen were posted to the Deccan. Reinforcements, money and provisions were poured into Baglana in January 1671. Four mighty Mughal officers with huge Mughal army and artillery were now heading to crush small Maratha kingdom. There was excessive rainfall that year and many men and cattle perished of pestilence in the camp at Parnera. But while his troops were dying, Mahabad Khan attended daily entertainments in the houses of the nobles by turns. There were 400 dancing girls of Afghanistan and the Punjab in his camp, and they were patronized by the officers. Internal disputes in these high rank of Mughal officers were the biggest reason why they couldn't recreate the same success like Jai Singh this time. In 1665, when Jai Singh had come to Deccan, he was single-headed over the army, so he succeeded. But this time Mughal army spent a lot of money and soldiers for no countable gains. One more noteworthy thing is maturity and cleverness shown by Shivaji himself as well as all his officers. Maratha troops never faced huge loss in this huge campaign of Mughals. After poor results of Daud Khan and Mahabad Khan's campaign in 1671, Aurangzeb sent Bahadur Khan and Diler Khan to the Deccan as soon as winter started. They entered Baglana and laid siege to Salhar. Bahadur Khan returned from Baglana with favor and encamped for some time on the bank of Bhima and then went back to Ahmednagar canton for the rains. About May 1672, Mahabad Khan left the Deccan for North India and a month later Muazzam did the same. Bahadur Khan was appointed Commander-in-Chief and acting Viceroy of the Deccan in January 1673 and had held that office till August 1677. Coronation of Shivaji. Shivaji was crowned a king in a lavish ceremony at Raigad on 6 June 1674. Gaga Bhatt, an authority on Vedas, officially presided over the ceremony and had a gold vessel filled with the 7 sacred waters of the rivers Yamuna, Indus, Ganges, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri. He held the vessel over Shivaji's head and chanted the coronation mantras. As the water kept dripping from the 7 tiny holes in the vessel, after the ablution, Shivaji bowed before Jija Mata and touched her feet. Nearly 50,000 people gathered at Raigad for the ceremonies. Shivaji was bestowed with the sacred thread Janev with the Vedas and was bathed in an Abhishek. Shivaji then had the title of Shakkarta conferred upon him, as well as assumed the title Kshatriya Kulvan, meaning head of Kshatriyas. Further, he preferred Chhatrapati title than Maharaja. Shivaji mother Jijabai died on 18 June 1674 within few days of coronation. This was considered a bad omen. Therefore, a second coronation was carried out 24 September 1674. This time according to Bengal school of Tantricism. Karnataka, the last venture. Karnataka was the last venture of Shivaji. With all the splendor assumed by Shivaji, his actual domain was hardly more than 200 square miles in length and even less in breadth. The Siddhis of Janjir and the Portuguese were his constant enemies. While the north was under Maratha rule, the south remained free for his ambition. The south was loosely held by the states Bijapur and Golconda. With the death of kings of these two states around 1672, confusion prevailed. In Golconda, two Hindu ministers managed the administration ably and made common cause with Shivaji for the uplift and regeneration of Hindu empire. In October 1674, the Marathas raided Khandes. On 17 April 1675, Shivaji captured Fonda from Bijapuri's Karwar was occupied by mid-1675 and Kolhapur in July 1675. There were naval skirmishes with the Siddhis Jinjara in November 1675. In early 1676, Peshwa Pingle engaged Raja of Ramnagar in battle en route to Surat. Shivaji raided Athani in March 1676. By the end of 1676, Shivaji besieged Belgaon and Vayam in current-day northern Karnataka. At the end of 1676, Shivaji launched a wave of conquest in southern India with a massive force of 50,000. 30,000 cavalry and 20,000 infantry. He captured the forts at Vellore and Jinji that belonged to the Sultanate of Bijapur and are in modern-day Tamil Nadu. In the run-up to this expedition, Shivaji appealed to the sense of Deccani patriotism that the Deccan or southern India was a homeland that should be protected from outsiders. His appeal was somewhat successful and he entered into a treaty with Qutub Shah of Golconda Sultanate that covered the eastern Deccan. Shivaji's conquest in the south proved quite crucial during future wars. Jinji served as a Maratha capital for 9 years during the War of 27 years. The small bands of Maratha were now moving like imperial forces, ready for open battle. His other intention was to reconcile with his stepbrother Vyankoji, his father Sahaji's sons from his second wife who came from Mohite family, who ruled Thanjavur after Shivaji. Vyankoji was against him and collaborated with his enemies. His PM Raghunath Pant disagreed with him and joined hands with Shivaji. They had talks. Vyankoji showed signs of uniting with Shivaji, but then no concrete result was obtained. On return to Raigad, Shivaji seized most of Vyankoji's possessions in the Mysore plateau. Vyangkoji's wife, Lipa Bai, a scholar of saintly bent of character, brought reconciliation between two brothers so they were not enemies and maintained the status quo of coexisting independently. The end of era. Chhatrapati Shivaji ruled the Maratha kingdom for many years successfully. He died on 2 April 1680 on the eve of Hanuman Jayanti. In a span of 50 years, he started from a jagir and ended with a vast empire stretching from hilly terrains to southern plain. According to James Grant Duff, the first historian of Marathas in modern times, the spirit infused in the minds of people by Shivaji was more valuable than the fort and the treasury left behind. The Maratha nation thereafter stabilized itself, became being organized and began to undertake fast raids on the slow-moving Mughal columns. Able and courageous generals bogged down the powerful Mughal army in a protracted 27-year war. In the last few years of this war, the Maratha generals delivered severe body blows to the Mughals on shifting battlefields in Maharashtra. And in 1697, Aurangzeb withdrew from Deccan for the last time in sickness and thereafter recalled his full army few years later. After this time, the Mughals never again posed a danger to the Marathas. Personality and character. Shivaji is noted for his strong religious and warrior code of ethics and exemplary character displayed during his long military career. He offered protection to houses of worship, non-combatants, women and children. He always showed respect, defended and protected places of worship of all denominations and religions. Shivaji was once offered as a war booty, an extremely beautiful lady by Maratha captain. She was daughter-in-law of a defeated Muslim Amir, local ruler of Kalyan, Maharashtra. Shivaji asked her to go back to her family in peace, unmolested and under his protection. His behavior was noted by those around him to be always of the highest moral caliber. He clearly and unambiguously embodied the vices and the ideals of a true nobleman. He boldly risked his life, his treasure and his personal well-being and that of his family to openly challenge his immensely larger enemies to defend and achieve freedom and independence for his kingdom. The later Indian nationalists have held him as role model for his heroism, selflessness and courage. Shivaji earned a high level of admiration and respect from all his followers and subjects.